Oh yeah, should I do? Let me do like a little professional intro or some shit, right? Hey, what's up? What's up, YouTube? How we doing there on YouTube? Hey, YouTube. Remember, if you guys like our content, remember to follow, share, subscribe, like our content. Let your friends know. You know, send a message to your mama, tell her, you know, Tari went live. She's like, who's Tari? Oh, he's just like, just some nigga that talks about logic online. So we're like, oh, I'll check Tari out. I want to learn some logic. That probably won't happen, but you know, you never know unless you try. So there you go. You know, follow, share, subscribe, yada yada, blah blah, all that good stuff. All right. Here. I got one more piece of business to do here. I be like trying to make sure we like post every time we go live, so like people know motherfuckers be here. All right. It is time. As I was saying, at some point, I'm gonna be on my pirate shit when you know, I'm a huge fan of One Piece. At some point, like the logo, when I get like a logo like started up and everything, like an official logo, my shit might be like a One Piece Jolly Roger. You know, just cause just create my own Jolly Roger. You know what I mean? But like in like the One Piece art style, or just a regular Jolly Roger. I'll probably do both. But yeah, we on that pirate shit over here. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, let's get started. Finish this thing up. So basically, we're on like the last claim here, right? Jubilee. Oh yeah, by the way, guys, happy Chinese New Year. Happy Chinese New Year. I wish I had like, you know, like a sound to fit that, you know what I'm saying? Hold on. Let's see. Nah. Maybe I'll find one eventually. I mean, I technically do have one. But I don't know if it fits. It's technically a sound for like Japanese people. Anyway, yeah, happy Chinese New Year. If you see the little running horse in the corner of the screen, that's because we have like the little tab open with Google, and Google has a little Chinese New Year animation going on their homepage. So if you're wondering what that is what that is. Which also reminded me to say like happy Chinese New Year. So, you know, happy Chinese New Year, you guys. The 17th. I think the celebration is going to be on like March 3rd or something. Don't ask me why. But yeah, it's the year of the fire horse. I don't know if that picture necessarily lets you know it's a fire horse. Oh, they should have had it like on fire or something. Okay, never mind. On to the video. All right, so yeah, we're on like the last claim from what I remember. So the first claim was what? Do they have it in the video? Let's see. Yeah, the first claim is RFK is decimating public health and should step down as Secretary of Health and Human Services. I don't really think he did a good job of substantiating that. But it was an interesting back and forth. So when we get to the second claim, the Maha movement is sabotaging the doctor-patient relationship. Again, he even kind of like softly conceded. Hotep. He softly conceded when they were talking about the doctor-patient relationship, and he said that like things like COVID and the response to that actually, you know, hurt it as well. He didn't really manage to substantiate the claim that like the Maha movement is sabotaging the doctor-patient relationship. Like, it's definitely having some effect on it, but I think they were able to attribute that issue to other things more than that. So like, if anything, it's like he's arguing like a very small, minuscule amount of sabotage, if anything, like, right. And then the third claim was Big Pharma is much more trustworthy than Big Supplement, which is probably the craziest claim out of all of them, because as we were made aware, the majority of Big Supplement is actually, or at least the biggest sellers in Big Supplement apparently, are owned by Big Pharma. Like, I mean,
somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
And that was just like, that was just what I thought automatically. Like, we didn't even really have to like look that up. It was just like I just I knew that. I'm pretty sure I looked it up later on too. Like, we looked that up later on in the stream after I'd already said that. And I wasn't talking out of my ass or anything, but I hadn't done like no hard research on it or anything. It just kind of made sense. I'm like, most of the time I see these companies, like I can see like the labels, and I look at like the parent companies of a lot of these brands and shit. And if you see it, like you see like, oh, these motherfuckers are owned by the same people. Like, the same motherfuckers selling you the pharmaceuticals. And then now the claim we're on now is that the Maha leadership cares less about health and more about money, power, and politics. And we were on this claim last time. There was some interesting stuff we went over. You know, we actually took a look at the Maha report. We tried to get like the AI to let us know, like, and give us some sources that could let us know whether, like, you know, the sources were really made up in this or whatnot. Apparently they were. Apparently they had like them removed or something. I don't know if they like put the report out again with like the correct sources or fixed it or whatever. But I mean, I'm assuming they did, but we at least know that they removed the things that were supposedly made up. They said it looked like it had been like, you know, partially put together by AI and had like some AI hallucinations in it. So we might be able to give Dr. Mike that, right? But I don't really think that it supports the idea that they care about money, power, and politics more than health. And for one, I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing if they care more about money, power, and politics. Doesn't mean that they don't care a lot about health, right? So most of them, I don't even think most of them are even arguing this point, but they don't have to. Again, like, and I want one of them to really ask, like, you know, what's bad about that? That's what I really want. But I don't think we're gonna get that. I think we're almost at the end of the time that they have to talk to them about this. We're about like at 4 minutes here. We just finished off on this last guy. And next after that will be, I think, like 10 minutes that he's gonna have speaking to a person of his choice on a claim that they'll make. And that's the part I'm actually most interested in on this one, because I hope he picks the one guy that was that had a good back and forth with him. I mean, a lot of these people have had a good back and forth with him, to be fair, but the I can't remember what his name. I think it's like Daniel or something. Like it's like this white guy in like a gray shirt or some shit. He was taking him to task. So I kind of want to see what he would say and what claim he would have, and I think he might pull him back up, but I'm not sure. I think I looked later on. Yeah, and some guy that I don't even recognize. It's the guy who he had a conversation with. I don't even remember this guy, but unfortunately, but we'll see whatever they end up talking about. All right, on with the show.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Oh shit. Oh wait, hold. I had to fix that real quick. How does the audio sound? Am I clear? I know when I get loud, sometimes I get cut off. Like when I said, "Oh, with the show," yeah. I'm still like getting this noise suppression figured out, so bear with me if shit sounds a little off. You said I could bring it down a bit. Okay, good to know. Because I was actually worried about, a lot of the time I'm actually worried about it not being loud enough. So that'd be part of my issue. Like, a lot of the time I'll have myself in my ear just to like check it. Sometimes I'll turn it on and check it, and sometimes it's too low for me, so I'll turn it up. But I don't know how it sounds to y'all. So that's why I try to look at it, but I don't want to have myself on in the background, you know what I mean? Anyway, see who this next guy is, what he has to say.
Hello, pleasure.
Okay.
Can you
This
repeat the
guy's
claim
name.
just
Did they tell you his name? Has he sat down before?
real quick?
We're on claim that the Maha leadership cares less about health and more about money, power, and politics.
So the previous Health and Human Services secretaries, they all cared about health, would you say?
I would say that they put a higher emphasis on health, yes.
Okay, do you know our rating?
Oh, okay. Interesting. No, we actually showed this person yesterday. You remember who our former deputy or assistant, was it deputy health secretary was last time? Pauly D. Dude like Pauly D. We had a person who thinks they're a different gender as our deputy health secretary in the last administration. So I don't know how much you can really say they care about health. You can say on the surface, oh, they care about health. It's like, actions speak louder than words.
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
I'm just saying.
in the world for maternal
Yeah, just
mortality,
weirdo
rate,
shit.
mortality,
It's
obesity, type 1 diabetes, type 2 diabetes. We lead in all developed nations across the world.
U.S. has the highest maternal mortality rate of all top income nations. Its rate is more than 50% higher than Chile, which is number 2. So Chile is a top income nation? I didn't know that. Anyway, I want to check something out real quick, right? Because when we talk about maternal mortality rates, yeah, apparently we have the highest maternal mortality rate of all, like, when they say top income nations. Like, nigga, what is what is the top income nation? Does that mean first world countries? And then Chile is number 2. But we are 50% higher than Chile. What I want to know is, what is the cause of the maternal mortality rate, and why are we the highest? Right? Like, let's look at that. What is the let's ask the Google demons. What is the likely cause of America's maternal mortality rate compared to others, since they said top income nations? I'm not even gonna put a question mark. Doesn't matter. The United States has the biggest, I said biggest, that does not say biggest, has the highest maternal mortality rate among high income nations, driven by a fragmented health system. I mean, how exactly does that lead to maternal mortality rate? A fragmented health system? What do they mean by that? Severe provider shortages, especially midwives. Okay, that makes sense. I mean, that makes perfect sense, actually. Lack of universal coverage. We don't, like, I feel like we should have universal coverage for birthing mothers, right? Like, I'm just saying,
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
if there's any socialism I'm for, it's socialism for birthing mothers, right? Like, we could do that at the very least, right? Is that too much? Like, am I too much of a commie? Like, I don't know. Like, I just think we should be taking care of, women when they're pregnant if we care about the next generation.
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
I'm just saying, maybe they shouldn't have to come out of pocket for giving birth or something. Like, I don't know. Like, do they? Is that what they do? They charge them after that and shit, right? Like, some shit. Like, they have to have, like, medical coverage and shit. Yeah. And I'm seeing, So like I've been with a girl who's been pregnant, and you know, she got coverage through the process. Now it might have been because like she did like adoption, that like, you know, the adoption agency like paid for, they like helped her through like the process of like applying for the insurance and getting the coverage so that she wouldn't have to worry about being charged for any of that. But if she hadn't done that, would she have been charged? That's the question. Because if the answer is yes, it's kind of fucked. I don't even know if you should have to go through all of that. Allegedly non-live. Allegedly. But it says key contributors. Include limited postpartum care, high rates of chronic unmanaged conditions, cardiovascular disease, and systematic racism. What the fuck? This nigga. Why is systematic racism on here? Why is systematic racism on here? Why is this here? Like, I don't know how this ended up here. Like, it's like, what? Anyway, it says driven by these other issues, and it says profound. Yeah, it does say profound racial disparities. I'm not going to take that one. Like, I don't think that one is really relevant. Because most of these motherfuckers, a lot of those motherfuckers, like they get them before they even like are giving birth. These motherfuckers be getting like abortions and shit. That's more of like, a lot more of the systematic racism is built into like, you know, the whole Planned Parenthood pipeline and everything. I don't think they're the reason that, like, you know, we have a high maternal mortality rate, to be fair. But yeah, I mean, so the cause of this might be because of the universal coverage or whatever, right? I know a lot of countries that are first world countries are a lot more socialist than America, and they probably will just do this for free. You don't probably have to do any like application process. You don't have to do anything extra. You can probably just, you know, go give birth. Fine. Even if, you know, aside from the issues we know with the way that they handle just the birthing process in general, the way that they deal with the mother, you know, how they pump her up full of drugs and everything. Like, aside from all of that stuff, at the very least, there's probably a lot more of these mothers surviving because they're a lot more willing to just like take them in because they just have like the universal health coverage in a lot of these countries. That might be shitty, but I think the fact that it's there for mothers helps. I think that's the only, that would be the only real difference. Like, what else would be causing this? Yeah, most of it just seems to do with like the healthcare system in general. And then like it says like provider shortages, so we don't have a lot of midwives. So that's an issue. And yeah, I could definitely see a lot of like European countries, a lot of the more conservative countries. They're gonna have, even if they don't have midwives, they're probably gonna have people that are at least capable of filling in as some kind of midwife. But who knows? I don't know. So they only said high income nations. They didn't say like, you know, the poor nations or whatever. So you said we also lack prenatal and preventative care. Well, prenatal and preventative care. We don't. Well, not live. We don't know if the little nigga was mine. Okay?
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna
Let's
tell
just be
it.
clear. I just knew a lady at one time, at one point in history. But yeah, we do lack. Yeah, and that's the thing about the midwives too, is that a lot of that prenatal and preventative care will be done, and you'll be getting like, you know, advised by a midwife, right? Midwives are very important. I think that's probably one of the most important things that contributes to the that mortality rate, I would say, in my opinion.
Terrible.
And for chronic diseases,
Terrible.
we're number one in the world.
I don't
Even
think we're number
non-developed
one in the world.
Yeah, we are.
Okay.
For chronic diseases in a single
Again, it
biome,
depends
we
what
lead.
you put into the chronic disease,
Yeah.
but yes, okay.
So all this, and did you have any, like,
Yeah, I have a
for
reason.
the past,
Well,
for
I have a
people that were in
reason.
charge before, did you go against them? Because our health has been on a steady decline.
I think that we're conflating a couple of things, and check my logic.
Yes.
So if you think my logic is flawed, tell me why. I think that the reason we got to where we are today is multifactorial, meaning for a bunch of reasons. But the biggest reasons, I think because we live in a capitalist nation, we try and get people to eat the foods that are most addictive, that taste the best, that make us very unhealthy. And just like any other thing that we do in society, when we tire it
Avoiding that gestational diabetes. True.
out for making that thing, because we live, I think.
Steady decline. And did you have any, like,
Yeah, okay.
Hold on. There was something I missed here, actually. So after that fact I said, according to Peterson KFF tracker, the U.S. has a higher rate of chronic illness compared to peer nations. Sorry, I thought that said poor nations. Compared to peer nations, when including diseases like obesity, hypertension, diabetes, asthma, kidney disease, depression, chronic and obstructive pulmonary. God damn! Jesus Christ! The higher rate is when including every disease, the U.S. has a higher chronic illness rate. Like, Jesus Christ! I mean, I'm not surprised. I know they said we were unhealthy, but I mean, we know what causes a lot of this stuff. So, you know, like, I mean, why would we be surprised?
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
You know, a lot of this stuff is going to be caused by your diet.
chronic diseases in a single biome?
Again, it depends what you
And that's one of the things other countries make fun of us about too, is our diet
put into the chronic disease, but
Yeah.
yes, okay.
and how fat we are.
So all this, and did you have any, like,
Yeah, I have a
for the
reason.
past,
Well,
for
I have a
people that were in
reason.
charge before, did you go against them? Because our health has been on a steady decline.
I think that we're conflating a couple of things, and check my logic.
Yes.
So if you think my logic is flawed, tell me why. I think that the reason we got to where we are today is multifactorial, meaning for a bunch of reasons. But the biggest reasons, I think because we live in a capitalist nation, we try and get people to eat the foods that are most addictive, that taste the
Yeah.
best, that make us
That
very
and
unhealthy.
sedentary.
And just like any other
And I was talking about that the other day too, or earlier today too, right? When he's talking about how dancing is such a good way to work out, and people don't even do that anymore. Like, you don't even see people doing that shit in the club. Imagine ways that people used to like have fun and enjoy themselves was just like a way to actually be active, you know. And you're not even really doing a lot, but you at least getting some activity in, right? Even for long amounts of time, if you're really enjoying yourself. But nowadays, people are just like standing around on their phone. Big problem.
other thing that we do in society, when we tire it's the best. I think because we live in a capitalist nation, we try and get people to eat the foods that are most addictive, that taste the best. Tell me.
Because our health has been on a steady decline.
I think that we're conflating a couple of things, and check my logic.
Yes.
So if you think my logic is flawed, tell me why. I think that the reason we got to where we are today is multifactorial, meaning for a bunch of reasons. But the biggest reasons, I think because we live in a capitalist nation, we try and get people to eat the foods that are most addictive, that taste the best, that make us very unhealthy. And just like any other thing that we do in society, when we tire it out for making profits on one end, we try and create solutions for those problems and make money on making the solution. This happened with horse
Yeah.
and carriages where there's poop all over the streets, and now we have the issues with cars, and people are trying to figure out ways how to make money by cleaning our environment. We're a capitalist nation. So over the last 50, 100 years or so, the chronic
A lot of pelvic thrusts are done in the club.
health diseases have gone up because people have gained a lot of weight from eating really unhealthy foods, not because we in the healthcare system necessarily have failed them, and there was instances why we have, but it's just because these foods were so addictive, we tried to create the highest profit margins and not take health seriously. Also, social media.
Wait, what?
Last 50, 100 years or so, the chronic health diseases have gone up because people have gained a lot of weight from eating really unhealthy foods, not because we in
That's true.
the healthcare system necessarily have failed them, and there was instances.
Nah, see, that's the part where I'm like, nigga be trying to escape all blame. Not necessarily because we have failed them. Like, nigga, maybe you have. Like,
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
you don't just get to escape blame. Like, no, you have. You failed them. Because even if, like, you know, the food industry and all these other motherfuckers are trying to, you know, poison them and all this other shit, it's your job to let them know. It's your job. You're supposed to make sure they stay healthy. Or I guess it's actually their job, to be fair. Like, I'm not going to put that much on you.
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
To be fair. It's not your responsibility necessarily. It is your responsibility to try to guide them and get them on track, though. That is your
Somebody
job.
gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
So you do share some responsibility there. Definitely. You get paid to do that.
This is why we have, but it's just because these foods were so addictive, we tried to create the highest profit margins and not take health seriously. Also, social media.
And also, you and your doctor buddies should have been like getting together and like, you know, railing against these companies. I mean, some like, you know, you do that about certain things. But like, yeah, y'all should have been out there really vocal and shit trying to get it. So that, like, I mean, get some of this shit pulled off the market if you got to. You know what I'm saying?
Electronics, people not leaving their homes, being sedentary. There's folks, I have patients who don't leave their house for days because they can have relationships with people online. They have their virtual realities where they don't have to participate in sports or any kind of other activities. So in general, our lifestyles have gotten unhealthy.
Yeah.
But to blame
That's true. He said exactly what you said. Yeah.
that on past health and human services secretaries, I feel like is an inaccurate way to blame somebody.
Well, I'm just using your logic because you said he doesn't care about health. So if it's been on a steady decline, then that means all the previous ones didn't care about health.
I think
and if our increase in spending is what, $5 trillion in healthcare, it's 10 trillion worldwide. We spend 50% compared to the whole world in healthcare. We're ranked #1 in all those categories. So if it's been on a steady decline, then you have to have some against all the previous ones too, right?
So you're looking at certain numbers and you're just zooming in on those numbers. Again, as I mentioned earlier, chronic health diseases have gone up. Part of that is because there's less
Wait. Let's listen to that one more time.
an accurate way to blame somebody.
Well, I'm just using your logic because you said he doesn't care about health. So if it's been on a steady decline, then that means all the previous ones didn't care about health.
I think
and if our increase in spending is what, $5 trillion?
So that's not necessarily true, right? This would only be a good argument if that is like evidence he used to defend the idea that he cares more about money, power, and politics than health, right? And I don't, somebody correct me if he did, I don't remember Dr. Mike saying anything about the reason why he thinks he cares less about health than those things is because we've seen a steady like decline or whatever over the years. Like I don't think that tracks, to be fair to Dr. Mike.
It's 10 trillion worldwide. We spend 50% compared to the whole world in healthcare. We're ranked #1.
But this guy is on to something in the sense that like he should ask this question better. Like, what makes it so that you think RFK cares less about health than money, power, and politics than these other administrations? Like, what makes him worse? Is this new? Is it something that is true of all these administrations? In which case, it's like, why even say it? Like, it's just that's just the normal status quo. The status quo hasn't really changed. And if that your point is that like he really isn't changing anything, then fair enough. But if you're trying to say that he's like worse, then we have a problem here because it doesn't really seem that that's true.
#1 in all those categories. So if it's been on a steady decline, then you have to have some.
Yeah, you don't have to leave the house to be active. And I mean, you can leave the house and not even leave the block. Like, you know, I do a run around the block every now and then, you know.
You're against all the previous ones too, right?
So you're looking at certain numbers and you're just zooming in on those numbers. Again, as I mentioned earlier, chronic health diseases have gone up. Part of that is because there's less acute death. So we've had wins in preventing acute death. So people who have sepsis, who have strokes, who have heart attacks, pharma has been driving the survival of these individuals. Now, here's the problem.
I mean, I guess I don't believe that, but continue.
When you solve someone's acute illness, they end up being a sick person for longer and end up turning into a chronic health patient. So this is an interesting example.
Wait, what?
Individuals. Now, here's the problem. When you solve someone's acute illness, they end up being a sick person for longer and end up.
When you solve someone's acute illness, they end up being or becoming a sick person for longer? Is that what he just said? Is that what he just said? What? Am I mishearing him? That doesn't make sense. That doesn't sound like it makes sense. Am I off here? Am I bugging? That just doesn't make sense. Like, I don't. What does he mean? Hold on. We're gonna have to. I'm gonna do what I showed y'all yesterday. Okay, we're gonna take a look at this transcript here. Okay. Nah, hurry up. All right, there we go. What's this? 131. We get down there. Oh shit. I didn't mean to do that. Fuck it. We can go back. Hold up here. That was an accident. I thought it was gonna take me to the part in the transcript. Anyway. Oh, just did that time. Okay. 131. All right. I'm just because I need to see what he said like in text. So I can understand what he's saying. Like, all right, let's just start.
You're looking at certain numbers and you're just zooming in on those numbers. Again, as I mentioned earlier, chronic health diseases have, when you solve someone's acute
illness, they end up being a sick person for longer and end up turning into a chronic health patient. What is, okay, first of all, okay, so what is an acute illness? Let's I think he tried to explain what it was, but I need a little bit more. An acute illness is a severe, sudden onset health condition that lasts for a short duration, typically a few days to a few weeks. Symptoms include fever, cough, pain, and sore throat caused by infections, injuries, or sometimes exacerbation of chronic conditions. Diagnosis is usually based on clinical symptoms and urgent care visits with treatment often leading to a quick, complete recovery. So, wait, hold on. Brave needs to do an update. I want to do this real quick. He's saying that they relapse. Yeah. Okay. I thought that that's what we were saying, but I guess I'm just wondering how often does that happen? Because he said it like it's just so matter of fact, like this is always what's going to happen. But I feel like that's like not the majority of the time. Like that's a minority of those cases, at the very least. Like it sounds like a bit much, doesn't it? So let's do a little analysis of this. Okay, we're gonna put this into the fallacy detector, mostly because I just want to use the fallacy detector. All right, let's see what it says. Let's see. When you solve someone's acute illness, they end up being a sick person for longer. Now, he didn't offer any like other justification for it or other reasoning for it or anything. So it's only going to be analyzing that claim itself. I just want to see what it says. And then we're gonna do the same thing with the AI. We're gonna see. Okay. And we're gonna see if it really fits. What does it say? So it's a slippery slope fallacy. Now, slippery slope fallacy is a fallacy. Not everything that people label as a slippery slope fallacy is a slippery slope fallacy. But there is a fallacy referred to as a slippery slope fallacy, because it is not always the case. And unless you can actually lay out how we can know for sure that it is the case, then it is fallacious. But some things are a slippery slope, to be fair. Not every slippery slope is a fallacy.
Somebody's gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
And I would say that technically this claim is guilty of slippery slope fallacy. So, shout out to the fallacy detector. I knew there was something off there. There was just something off there. And he didn't look like he was about to like explain necessarily. He might say a little bit more. He might add a little bit more context as to why he believes this. And then maybe we can, put the full claim in there. But the reason I said we're also gonna hold on, give me a second. The reason I said we're also gonna ask the AI to break it down, see what any fallacies are there, or what fallacies are there, because it'll try to be like good faith. And I might even ask it to be like, try to be good faith and like, you know, argue the percent. That's what I'll do with the AI sometimes, because sometimes people don't add more context or really provide an argument for their position, even if they have one. Sometimes I'll just be like, okay, I'll just grant it to you that it could be true. Like, what would be the strongest argument for this claim? Like, why would you say this and believe it to be true? You know, beyond, you know, reasonable doubt, whatever. So let's see. Not what I meant to do. Let's just go straight. Let's go straight to the, yeah. So like, you can just ask it what fallacies are present in this claim, and what would likely be the reasoning behind this belief. Now, it's likely going to be exactly what Melissa was talking about, right? But it might be a little more specific, and we'll see what they break down for us, right? The one benefit to the Google demons. So, all right, that should work. That's just a quick way of doing it. I usually have a better prompt for when I do this stuff, and I normally don't do it with Google AI, but this is just the easiest thing to use right now. So, the claim that solving an acute illness inevitably leads to chronic health issues and contains several logical fallacies and is often rooted in specific and sometimes controversial philosophical or psychological beliefs. Okay. Yeah, it's definitely philosophical. False dilemma. This is the first thing I was thinking about. Right? I normally think false dichotomy, but it's the same thing. False dilemma, right? Like either or. Like if you cure it, they'll end up becoming a chronic sick patient. If you don't, they won't. Like, it's just, it's not true that it's either or, right? So then the other one, it says, host ergo propter hoc. It's the false cause fallacy. Because chronic conditions sometimes follow an acute event, right? The claim that it incorrectly assumes the treatment of the acute event caused the chronic condition rather than the original damage or the underlying causes. I think, to be fair, I think that it is true that it's false cause to some degree, for the most part. But I think also the argument isn't necessarily that the treatment causes it, because sometimes that's the case. But I think the argument is more that simply treating the acute event and not checking to see if it's connected to some other kind of chronic condition typically causes the person to ignore the underlying issues that actually caused it, and then ends up with them chronically being sick because they never really try to focus on what could be causing the condition, whether it's chronic or not, and they keep getting it, keep coming down with it, and they just think it's over. They think it's a one-off every time they get rid of the one thing. So I mean, I'm trying to be as good faith as possible. I can understand why somebody would think that, but again, I don't think it's the majority of the time. And then it also says slippery slope fallacy. What up, Sleepy? What up? What up? What up? It asserts, I mean, we already went to slippery slope, actually, my bad. Hasty generalization, yeah, same thing. It's like, you know, if you do this thing, then this is going to happen, right? I mean, and slippery slope and hasty generalization tend to go hand in hand, right? So then, like, the reasoning behind it says philosophical or naturalist beliefs might be a reason that somebody says this. Some belief systems argue that treating symptoms suppresses the body's natural healing response. I'm not sure if that's what Dr. Mike believes, but like I know that some of us believe that.
Somebody's gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
I definitely believe that to a certain degree. I don't think that's the argument that he's making though. If that was the argument that he was making it to a certain degree, I would have to agree with him. If that is what he says, then we have to give Dr. Mike his props. He's definitely, or at least one other guy said something, you know, that was right on point, right on the money. And I think Dr. Mike even agreed with him about like, you know, the issues with mitochondria being like the main reason a lot of these issues happen. And I think Dr. Mike agreed. So I think he is tapped in to some degree. That might be what he's using to justify this belief. And it is also like what anti-establishment bias. I don't think he has that. Okay, I don't think Dr. Mike has anti-establishment bias. Okay, and then it's like the successful failure paradox. What is that? Increased survival. Ironically, medical success in treating acute life-threatening events like major stroke or severe trauma allows people to survive who otherwise would have died. These survivors often require long-term chronic management for resulting impairments, leading to the perception that the treatment created the chronic patient. I don't think that would be a good way of justifying that claim, because you're basically just saying like, well, if we hadn't saved that person, they would have died. And now we have a chronic patient because we didn't save that person. Like, it might be true, but it's like, that's a very negative way of looking at it. You know what I mean? Like,
somebody's gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
I try to be more, you know, glass half full. You know what I mean? Like, that's more glass half empty. Like, I just don't like, no, don't think about it like that. Like, don't think about it like that. And then it's got misunderstanding of disease progression, latent conditions. Yeah, often acute illness is simply a first visible sign of an already existing chronic condition. That's what I was talking about. Yeah. So I mean, there are some ways I can understand why somebody would believe that, but in general, I don't think that's usually true.
Illness. They end up being a sick person for longer and end up turning into a chronic health patient. So this is an interesting example of our successes actually counting against us. So
Yeah, we finishing this one. We're gonna be done with this one today. This is the last one today. Okay, last time, but we've learned a lot. We've gotten to go over a lot of stuff on this one. And I'm actually, I'm gonna miss it. Gonna have to find something as rich in content as this video after this. We're gonna keep doing the Kemedicine pre-shows.
Vaccines eliminating certain conditions in the world, smallpox, polio, measles in the year 2000s, it's back now, has led people to believe that these diseases aren't so bad because they don't see them because we've eradicated them. When we help people.
Sure, I guess. I don't necessarily agree with that, but whatever. Like, have we eradicated them? Doesn't seem like we actually have.
Survive a heart attack and now they become a chronic health patient. We view that as a failure because chronic health numbers are going up. I view it as partially a failure because we could do better there, but also a win that we helped them overcome and mortality has dropped.
Yeah, well, our lifespans increased,
Okay.
our health spans decreased. So by 2050,
What up,
What's your
Renee?
definition of health span?
so longevity of like not chronic diseases, obesity type.
Hey, yo, Renee.
Diabetes.
I might need your services, okay? Like, trying to work on a little logo or something. I need like, new loading screen and shit or whatever, just, like hit me up, I was trying to message you on Twitter, but said I'm not allowed to message this user. Like, I was like, damn, I can't message Renee. Renee don't fuck with me. Like, damn, it's crazy. I remember me and Renee at HotepCon. If I'd have known at the time, I'd have had you make it for me then. You know what I'm saying?
Somebody's gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
I would have been like, oh damn, like word, is this the graphics guy? I had no idea. But yeah, no, I'm hit you up, Renee. I want to get this whole layout like fixed and get this figured out. I need somebody with the the creative expertise. You know what I'm saying? You see how jumbled and fucked up this shit is. You gotta get this shit on point.
Somebody's gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
You're gonna have to help me out.
maternal mortality.
Yeah, and
Those
I think
things, all those have.
I think lifestyle changes are a big.
So our lifespans decrease, but our health span
Yep.
Yeah,
has
I think,
decreased. By 2050, we're going to be ranked 66 in the world in,
I hate
in life
these prediction
expectancy.
things because those are not very accurate. And one medication coming out, like we're seeing with the Ozempic Wegovys that RFK is now excited about, can drastically change those outcomes. So it's very difficult to predict those numbers in the future. I will say, like, just zooming in and saying everyone before Secretary Kennedy was terrible because chronic health disease has gone up and Secretary Kennedy must be better is just not true. Maybe the previous ones could have been better as well. I've criticized.
But I mean, is that what he said though?
Can drastically change those outcomes. So it's very difficult to predict those numbers in the future. I will say, like, just zooming in and saying everyone before Secretary Kennedy was terrible because chronic health disease has gone up and Secretary Kennedy must.
See, is that what he said though? I don't think he said that. I think his point was more that, like, if there's not much of a significant change from the previous administrations, what do you have to go on to justify the idea that he cares less about health than they did? Yeah, he didn't say that shit. He's questioning you, like, what evidence do you really have? He's basically asking you, what is your evidence that you really have if we can see that there's no, like, real distinguishable difference? Or even if there's no, like, you know, real distinguishable difference, right? Because a lot of people would argue, like, we're actually seeing better changes than we've seen in other administrations. But even if we weren't, and it was just exactly the same, how does that show you? What else are you using to justify this claim?
Be better is just not true. Maybe the previous ones could have been better as well. I've criticized Fauci. I criticized Dr. Fauci to his face.
All I'm saying is they didn't care
on a
about health
podcast.
either.
Well,
So
I think
if you're going to make that claim,
You criticized Dr. Fauci to his face on a podcast. You was probably still agreeing with a lot of what that nigga was saying.
Somebody's gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
He's probably doing like a softball interview. I ain't gonna lie, like I don't trust it, nigga. I don't care. Like, I'll criticize him to his face. That doesn't always mean something. I'm just saying.
you have to make that claim for everyone
I think
else.
they did.
That's all I'm saying. So
I think they did.
Keep it consistent.
There's difference between they didn't care about health or their policies were unsuccessful. I don't think Secretary Kennedy is actually doing any policies that are meaningfully successful right now.
Okay. So this is the biggest thing here.
You have to make that claim for everyone
I think
else.
they did.
That's all I'm saying. So
I think they did.
Keep it consistent.
There's difference between they didn't care about health or their policies were unsuccessful.
All right. So, like, what is that difference? Because you haven't really showed us that difference.
I don't think Secretary Kennedy is actually doing any policies that are meaningfully successful right now.
Right. So you don't think he's doing his policies are meaningfully successful. Does that mean he doesn't care about health? Or he doesn't care about it as much as money, power, and politics?
Okay, pause. We're out of time.
Like, if anything, you just said the opposite.
I want to get into pharmaceuticals, but
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't think he did a good job on that claim either. Like, sorry, Dr. Mike.
So many choices. I feel like we had a very argumentative end.
I don't even remember this guy. Like, when did he talk to this guy? Who was this guy? Hold on. Let me see if I can find his back and forth with this guy so we can, like, remind ourselves real quick, like, what was said, like, what happened. I'm not even seeing, like, a thumbnail as I'm scrubbing the video. Like, I just don't even see more malls and milk up here. Like, okay, here it is. I don't remember this back and forth. What claim was this? So this was the doctor-patient relationship one. So
just statements that weren't
all right,
true.
let's
Either
go
go back because
listen to this real quick again.
There have been mistakes, and if you brought
I have
that to
multiple
him,
videos on my YouTube channel, including podcasts. Not to.
Oh, yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes,
I
sir.
just wanna make sure I get your
So I think to start this author's.
So what's his name?
Hi, nice to meet you, sir.
Pleasure. Jack.
So yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes,
I
sir.
just wanna make sure I get your
So I think to start this author.
Jack.
Actually, some truth to what he said. So yeah,
So
as of
who
right,
said- I said
what
or
Kennedy
he
said.
said?
So the truth is that after the year 2000, doctors say that 1 in 3 children will actually develop
Doctor-patient
diabetes in their lifetime.
relationship.
So there's actually so often a lot more truth to what Kennedy says than what you give him. And I know that
So
you're
he
not
just
trying-
said it inaccurately. You mean like because he said this is a quote unquote that currently 1 in 3 children have diabetes.
I mean, it could have been that maybe the wording was wrong, but the truth is that.
Oh yeah, this was the guy that was correcting him on the stats. Oh. He wanted another chance with this nigga.
Somebody's gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna
That's
tell it.
why he brought it back up. Cause this nigga got him. Or was it the other nigga that got up and explained what he said? I think it was him that did it.
If you're born after the year 2000, 1 in 3 people are going to develop diabetes
As a
in their
prediction.
lifetime. Yes, and so
Yeah, he said like the pre-diabetes. It's like it doesn't matter if it's a prediction. I mean, like they have all the markers for pre-diabetes. Like that's not a good thing. So yeah, this is. I think this is why he wanted to go back and forth with this guy again.
So I think so often what we can do with Kennedy is we can still paint him in bad faith, even if that's not our intention. And I think one of the things that you said actually was that Kennedy said that half of the people in China have diabetes, right?
All right. Yeah, half of the people. Yeah, okay.
Percent of people in China do have diabetes. The truth is that there has been a 50% increase in the number of people with diabetes in.
Yeah. I remember all that.
There's not enough scientific evidence to say that Tylenol causes autism.
So doesn't that concern you
No.
as a person who lives in the United States that there's a press conference,
Yeah.
there's the president, Health and Human Services Secretary,
Okay, yeah, they talked about. I remember that. Yeah.
this is what was said. And then 2 weeks later,
The thing is, if
Yeah,
something
yeah.
is a fact, then it will be able to be refuted, or sorry, then it will stand.
Right. Yeah.
Not true, then they will simply stand. And that's the thing. The thing that I appreciate about Kennedy is he understands that science at the highest levels is a that whatever could do that 2 weeks later, I believe. So I think
Yeah,
that it's
no,
very,
bro
very
was
important to
cooking.
say if we
pretty interesting what you're pointing out. I would say a year before this press conference, I had a video lined up to talk, and just because of production delays and such, we didn't get a chance to put it out. So in the medical community, we were already understanding that there is a potential tie there, an association. We knew that there wasn't a causal link to prove that definitely.
right, because it's not even widely
What
agreed
you
as to
talking
say what causes
Exactly.
autism, right? But then again, I think that we should constantly.
Oh, you're talking about the autism. Okay.
It was done. It was done a long period before that. There was multiple research because you said we need to look
So
into
you
it.
said that there's multiple.
Yeah, they did have a pretty good conversation actually. So I can
I'm
understand why
being
he
honest
brought it
with
back
you.
up.
I wish I could help my patients.
Flip switch really fast.
No,
I'm
but
sorry.
I really want to be. I want to show you how passionate I am because when Secretary Kennedy
This is what he was saying. This is when he started. He started to seem a little bit more likable around this point, I guess.
raises his voice, people see his passion.
Okay.
And we in healthcare don't have the same passion. So I want to show you my passion. We want to find it, and we haven't found it. And when he presents to you a fake link because he knows it doesn't exist, why are
So like, see, like that's the part where it's like,
Because there was a recent study that was done that said 70% of studies that are put out have a conflict of interest, the majority of which are for undisclosed amounts, and the average amount that is known is $27,000 per
So should we
physician.
throw out all research? Why are you trusting? Do you know if
like yeah, whatever.
You come in,
get paid?
All right. Anyway, we saw this back and forth early. Anyway, you can go look at the other video. We got the archive on YouTube. For y'all on YouTube, it's right there for y'all. Y'all want to see that back and forth, what we had to say on that. Don't need to rehash the entire thing. I just wanted to remind myself a little bit what they talked about, what the back and forth was like. Well, let's get to this one. And let's see the claim that he has to say. So it looks like it says, unchecking big pharma or unchecked big pharma is the reason or is reason enough for Kennedy reforms. So he's saying that Kennedy is justified in all his reforms because big pharma has gone unchecked for so long. I think this is defensible. I think this is a defensible claim. I think he can do this.
is that unchecked big pharma is reason enough for Kennedy's reforms. So I guess what I want to start this off with is just a little bit of history, okay? And in 1986, what was signed into law by Ronald Reagan was the National Child Vaccine Injury Act. And from there, you are no longer able to sue companies like Pfizer, holding them accountable for vaccine injury or things like that, for the specific reason that they wanted the releasing of vaccines to be more effective to the public, right? So they set up a national compensation fund. Then you're playing by the federal government's rules in their own courts. And so also another thing that happened is in 2010, I'm going to cite this, is there was a Supreme Court case called Citizens United versus FEC. What they decided in the Supreme Court case was that now a corporation is a person, is a singular person, and that to restrict the amount of money that they're able to give to somebody running in a campaign would be infringing on their First Amendment right of freedom of expression. And so from there, we now have today where 95 out of 100 United States senators are now backed by Big Pharma. And then you also have on the flip side, referring back to what Ronald Reagan did in the 80s, you have a large amount of doctors now that are being paid off. As I'm going to bring up the statistic again, 70% of research being published by physicians is published with a conflict of interest. 80%.
Okay. It's Jubilee fact check here. Yeah, this well, everything he's saying is pretty interesting. It's like so let's break this down. Let's see what Jubilee is saying to fact check for, or what Jubilee is fact checking.
Back to what Ronald Reagan did in the 80s, you have a large amount of doctors now that are being paid off. As I'm going to bring up the statistic again.
So he's saying doctors are being paid off. That's a heavy claim.
70% of research being published by physicians is published with a conflict.
So it says, I think this is about the conflict of interest. 70% of researchers being published with the conflict of interest. That's what he said. So Jubilee says conflict of interest rates vary depending on the area of research and the type of study, but reviews indicate around 70% of researchers had financial interest in their work. NIH funding comes from the federal government, totaling $47 billion in 2024. So 70% of researchers had a financial interest in their work. So they had a financial conflict of interest. This means that they had some money tied up in it. That's That's pretty damning, I ain't gonna lie.
Somebody's gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
Yeah, no lies detected. So they said it varies depending on the area of research and type of study. But Jubilee just said fact check true. So shout out to Jack.
Of interest. 80% of NIH funding comes from big pharma. Things like these, I say, are reason enough that Kennedy's reforms need to take place.
Yeah, he said 80% of NIH funding comes from big pharma.
Of NIH funding comes from big pharma. Research being published by physicians is published with a conflict of interest. 80% of NIH funding comes from big pharma. Things like these.
Is that true? I did not know that. Jesus Christ, that's a lot. How much of NIH funding comes from big pharma? I mean, it makes sense that it would be a large number, but that's crazy. How much of NIH funding? Wait, virtually 0% of the NIH's direct $48 billion annual budget comes from the big pharma. Rather, oh shit, 0%. Damn. They said Jack is cap. Let's see. Rather, the NIH is primarily funded by U.S. taxpayers. Instead, the relationship is inverse. The NIH funds basic research, while the private sector, pharma, invests far more in commercializing those findings, accounting for over 95% of spending on late-stage drug development. So, what exactly? Yeah, they said direct funding. Yeah. Direct. But so to be fair, right? It says it's primarily funded by U.S. taxpayers. So like maybe directly that $48 billion, and that's what it says. NIH funding comes from the federal government, totaling $47 billion in 2024. So Jubilee was saying like, okay, he's right about the first claim. He's lying about the second claim. Federal government pays for the NIH. And AI says 0% of that comes from big pharma. So why did they say direct? Yeah, as Melissa pointed out, they said direct funding. It says pharma invests far more in commercializing those findings. What exactly does that mean? Over 95% of spending on late-stage drug development. Well, that would make sense because they're the ones developing the drugs. Like, I mean, obviously, like, who else would be spending on the late-stage drug development besides the pharmaceutical companies? Like, I mean, like, why'd you even need to tell me that? Why is it only 95%? Why is it not 100%? Like, am I missing something here? NIH provides foundational research while private industry funds clinical trials, applied research. So the NIH only does like the basic research. So the majority of like, I guess the trials they do is paid for by the pharmaceutical companies. Is that what they're saying? So while the NIH funds significant research, nearly 80% of cancer research funding in 2021 came from the private sector. A study of 18 FDA-approved therapies showed $670 million in NIH funding compared to $44.3 billion in private investment. Industry spending on clinical trials is estimated to be roughly 10 times higher than NIH spending for approved drugs. So the majority of the stuff and the trials and the studies you're seeing is, from what I'm seeing, is mostly done by the pharmaceutical companies and not by the NIH. Total private investment for approved medicines often exceeds NIH funding by orders of magnitude. Is the NIH involved in their trials? Is that what's going on? And do they like sign off on those trials? Is that what they're talking about? While some NIH projects involve collaborations with the industry, right? That's what I was just saying. the direct funding of the NIH itself is government appropriated. And that's the thing, like, you know, how much of, like they said it's primarily from the taxpayer, but how do we really like confirm that? You know what I mean?
These, I say, are reason enough that Kennedy's reforms need to take place.
It's interesting. You bring up quite a few subjects. I'll start with the vaccine injury fund. I think that's valuable. I think perhaps your interpretation of the rule there is not exactly accurate.
Okay.
If you go through this national injury vaccine compensation fund.
Wait, what? Hold on.
Need to take place.
Of the rule there is not exactly accurate.
Okay.
If subjects, I'll start with the vaccine injury fund. I think that's valuable. I think perhaps your interpretation of the rule there is not exactly accurate.
Okay.
If you go through this
The vaccine injury fund? Is that what he said?
vaccine injury fund, I think that's valuable. I think perhaps your interpretation of the rule there is not exactly accurate.
Okay.
If you go through this national injury vaccine compensation fund and you're not happy with what you received, and you're saying that they didn't give me enough money or it's taking too long, you could drop out and you could sue a vaccine manufacturer. That's absolutely true. You could
That's
fact check me.
unequivocally true.
That's unequivocally
So,
true.
but the thing is that the problem is
Is it?
in our country, we have Big Pharma has protections that no other, that, I mean, I was trying to get out here for big supplement because I was going to argue that.
Wait, so hold on. Let's see what he said. If you go through this national vaccine compensation fund and you're not happy with what you receive, and you're saying that they didn't give me enough money or it's taking too long, you could drop out and you could sue the vaccine manufacturer. Is that true? So we're gonna ask the Google demons. We're gonna see what the Google demons have to say. Is it true? Okay. Hopefully this doesn't take too long. We've almost made it through, guys. You've almost made it through. I'm just trying to be thorough with this stuff. You know what I mean? This is interesting to me. You know what I'm saying? Is it true if you go through? He said, it actually, he put in the transcript. Can you get a transcript that just removes like all the uhs and ums and shit? Okay, let's see. See if that works. Saves me time to not type that shit in. Yes, it is generally true that if you go through the National Vaccine Injury Compensation Program and are unhappy with the outcome, you can reject the decision and file a lawsuit against the vaccine manufacturer in civil court. However, this comes with specific, strict conditions and limitations. So let's look at these strict conditions and limitations, why don't we? Let's see here. I know let's see here. Make it normal for now. All right, let's check this out. Under the National Childhood Vaccine Injury Act of 1986, the VICP is a mandatory first step for Okay, I see. Is a mandatory first step for injuries caused by most routine vaccines. Okay, you cannot go straight to court. Okay, I mean, can you go straight to court for most stuff? If the special master, who the fuck is the special master? This is already starting off crazy. I've never heard this term in legalese ever before in my life. I've never heard. What the fuck is the special master, nigga? What? What kind of title is that?
What the fuck?
Like, it's all right. Hold on. I have to search this now. Like, what the fuck is a special master? What is it? Just searching it on Brave. What is? Hold on. What is this? Who is frequently but not necessarily an attorney? The role of a special master is to supervise those falling under the order of the court. God damn it. The role of the special master, who is frequently but not necessarily an attorney, is to supervise those falling under the order of the court to ensure that the court order is being followed and to report on the activities of the entity being supervised in a timely manner to the judge or the judge's designated representatives. So it's usually just an attorney. It's basically just an attorney. Why did they call? Yeah, why the fuck? Yeah, special master is crazy. You know, why is it called special master? Like I don't. Because even it's like there's a term for when you have like like the right of attorney or whatever for like a relative or something, or you're like somebody's representative, that's usually what they say, like representative or something, right? Like I don't know. It's a very weird. I've never seen this before. I've never seen somebody referred to as a special master, whatever. So who the fuck is a special master? It's just an attorney. If the special master denies your claim, that's why this sounds weird to me, because I'm like, who the fuck is this special master? It doesn't even say your attorney. It just says if the special master denies your claim, whoever the fuck that is, or if you are awarded compensation but believe it is too low, you have the right to reject that judgment. So, all right, like shit, this is like, here, let me do something real quick. So what we're gonna do is, who is typically, damn, are we gonna finish this today? Because like, this has got me wondering, like, who is typically a special master in a VICP case? Whatever. A special master is an experienced attorney appointed by the judges of the U.S. Court of Federal Claims to act as an adjudicator. They function similarly to judges and managing. Okay, so they function similarly to judges. Okay, so attorney with power, kind of like a prosecutor or a judge, whatever. Okay, I see. Whatever. All right. Just wanted to make sure. That's what I thought. Just wanted to make sure. So they can just deny your claim? Like, what are the reasons why they can deny your claim? You may withdraw your petition if the court takes too long. Why would you do that? I don't care how long they take, nigga. If I'm like, no, what? That's not going to help you to remove it, to withdraw the whatever. Once you reject the judgment, you can file a civil action against the vaccine manufacturer in state or federal court. Okay. So you got to go through all of that. But it sounds like they have a lot of power. Because, like, I mean, depending on who they have in their pocket, they could just have these motherfuckers deny your claim and you ain't got shit. I don't know. While you can sue, your lawsuit is not a standard personal injury lawsuit. The 1986 Act provides significant protection to manufacturers. Yeah, just like the guy said, they're a lot more protected. No design defect suits. In 2011, the Supreme Court ruled in Brucewitz versus Wyeth that manufacturers cannot be sued for design defects if the vaccine was properly manufactured and labeled. So, what? What does that even? So, they can't do it for design defects if it was properly manufactured and labeled? I mean, I guess. But what if part of your proper manufacturing included the reason why it's defective? Like, I don't know. It's just whatever. It's just I don't know. Yeah, that's exactly, Melissa. Like,
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
Like, if your design is defective, it doesn't matter if it was manufactured properly. Like, I understand what this guy is saying now. Like, this is like, they're talking out both sides, and they're like, oh yeah, you can sue, but like, like, you can't really. Like, what you can sue for. You can generally only sue if the injury was caused by a manufacturing defect. Oh, what a surprise. But if it was manufactured properly, then you can't do it for a defect. So if it was just something wrong with the vaccine, can't sue them for that. Or the manufacturer failed to provide proper warnings. So again, the label. Like, oh, they provided you a warning on the label, so, if you end up fucked up, can't sue us. Which is, I mean, I guess kind of fair, but they should have some kind of compensation for people that end up with like adverse adverse side effects or something. Like I think just in the interest of like having a good public image as a company, if I'm putting out a vaccine and I know that it's possible that somebody could get injured by it, I might be like, you know what, we're gonna have like this little, I don't know, settlement or whatever for people that actually end up with like legitimate issues and that can prove that they have legitimate issues. That way they don't necessarily have to go to court. You can kind of try to offer something to them, whatever. I think they do have something designed for that, like these claims or whatever, but I think part of this is about like if they offer you some money or they don't offer you enough, like what happens at the end of it all. And it seems like you just have to deal with whatever they gave you, even if they fuck something up. And the only one that really looks like you could be able to really get them for it is if like, okay, so like, even if their design is defective and it would have gotten you fucked up anyway, the only way you can really get them on the manufacturing side is like, okay, if they fucked up some part of their manufacturing process, you can hone in on that and be like, they manufactured this wrong, so they gotta fix this, right? Or if they didn't put the proper warnings on the label, then you can get them for that. But as long as they quote unquote manufactured it properly and put the right warnings on the label, like all the different millions of different things that could happen to you, like you just got to take whatever they give you, and otherwise you ain't gonna be able to get nothing in court. I lost my hearing for medication, but like the alternative is hard feeling like type shit. Yeah, this is nasty work, I ain't gonna lie. If you accepted interim payments from the VICP while your case was pending and then win the lawsuit, you must repay the program for those costs. That's just kind of fucked up. Like, like, so they're like, these niggas will give you some money while you going through your case, and if you win it, you got to repay the program. Like, so like the money you get is gonna be cut in half. Like they gonna basically take it from you, whatever they was giving you. I get it, but like it just feels kind of fucked up. Like it's just like you could just do that pro bono. Like I mean, like whatever. But yeah, that feels kind of wrong. I feel like if you lose the case, that would make more sense. When you win the case, like, do they make you pay it back if you lose the case? If they make you pay you back if you lose the case, that might be more fucked up. What up, Ariel? What's up? We gonna finish up here. Let me stop talking and let them continue. But the guy seems to be right. It's still pretty difficult to sue.
You could drop out and you could sue a vaccine manufacturer. That's absolutely true. You could
That's
fact check me.
true.
That's
What
unequivocally
up,
So the thing
Buddha?
is that the problem is in our country we have Big Pharma has protections that no other. That I mean, I was trying to get out here for
Yeah, they got a decent amount of protections.
Big Supplement because I was going to argue that Big Pharma has protections that Big Supplement does not.
Well, they have protections, but they also have a responsibility to put out research that is checked by independent researchers, where Big Supplement
Okay.
doesn't. Like, how do we know that taking
Wait. Why is he pivoting to Big Supplement? Why is he pivoting to Big Supplement? What the fuck?
Does not.
well, they have protections, but they also
I mean,
you could
That's
fact check me.
unequivocally true.
That's unequivocally
So,
true.
but the thing is that the problem is in our country we have Big Pharma has protections that no other. That I mean, I was trying to get out here for Big Supplement because I was going to argue that Big Pharma has protections that Big Supplement does not.
Oh, okay. So he did mention. He said he was trying to get up when they were talking about the Big Supplement stuff. Okay. So he's saying Big Pharma has protections that Big Supplement doesn't, which is true.
They have protections, but they also have a responsibility to put out research that is checked by independent researchers, where Big Supplement doesn't. Like, how do we know that
Yeah, but the thing is, like, a lot of the stuff in quote unquote Big Supplement is stuff that like we already have history of research on. So like if you're looking for like, history of research on like, cola nut or some shit, like you can find that. So they don't even necessarily have to make claims as to what it can do or go through any of those issues because it's already kind of accepted. We already have like, the history of what these things do and what people use these things for.
taking a medication to lower your blood pressure prevents a heart attack, because they did the research studies to prove it. But when someone recommends a supplement, they don't have to do that.
So I think it's different. So in the state of California,
Yeah, because a lot of supplements are just fucking like plants and shit that comes out of the earth, nigga. Like we don't need studies on a lot of that stuff. It's like, oh, people aren't doing studies on turmeric supplements. Like,
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
like, nigga, that's not the one I'm interested in. Like, nigga, they're not doing studies on the turmeric supplement. They're not doing studies on magnesium. Like nigga, going on.
I mean, as of 1980, as of 1980, in all 50 states, you were required to get a vaccine to go to public school, right? This is the thing. So the difference between big pharma and big supplement is choice. You have several different manufacturers or companies making
Supplements tend to have much lower consequences and side effects compared. Exactly, that's true. And the thing is, and if they don't, a lot of the side effects are known. It's like you should look this stuff up before you put it in your body, because it's like, I think the last time I heard of a supplement like really fucking people up that people were warning people about was some shit that was like, I'm pretty sure it was mislabeled. So it was labeled as something else on the outside of like the container or whatever, but on the inside it was something that it was either something entirely different, or it was a dangerous amount of it. It was something like that. I think it was like it's something entirely different, like inside of it, or the way they marketed it. They didn't tell you exactly what it was, and people were taking it and they were getting fucked up. I can't remember what the shit was called, but it wasn't a supplement that told you what it was and what it was like supposed to be for. Because a lot of supplements, especially when I buy them, right, like the Men of Order supplements, for example, they'll just tell you like, all right, this is a brain booster. This is meant to, enhance your clarity and focus and yada, yada, blah, blah, whatever. They don't claim that they're curing or treating anything specifically or whatever. They just tell you some potential benefits you could get from something. And then they'll even have warnings for certain things that you shouldn't do. And they tell you that you should consult your doctor before you take it. Original pre-workouts like C4 got banned. I'm not sure if I've heard of C4. I can't remember. Why did they get banned though?
the exact same thing. The reason why something is called a supplement is because you're supplementing something that's already in your diet.
Oh, did they get banned because of like what they claimed that they did?
So in today's day in America, 70% of children have, 70% of a child's diet is now ultra-processed foods, right? And so from there, you're having things like vitamin C, creatine, all these things, which already exist in the foods we eat, which we are now lacking at a rate like never before because of the diet we have.
Yeah, it was some gas station pills. That's exactly what it was. It was some shit they were selling at like fucking gas stations.
In America.
Do you think there's a widespread issue of vitamin C deficiency in the United States?
Oh, people were having heart attacks? God damn.
I'm not sure specifically about vitamin C.
Well,
I don't know. Well,
creatine deficiency. I don't know.
But I'm saying is so creatine appears in foods like steak, whatever else, and we're eating those less than we did before. It's necessarily
We're eating red meats less than before?
I would say.
You said most protein powder says GMO ingredients? I'm not surprised.
So
No,
natural
American
red
standard
meat,
diet is
natural red meat. This is what a cheeseburger is made out of. Is not necessarily the same as.
C4 is straight crack. I think you think about is that an energy drink? I swear when isn't there an energy drink named C4?
I think this is a really cool thing for us to end on because it's going to be about me making a disclosure that I'm curious how it lands for you.
Okay.
Are you familiar with the pharmaceutical company Abbott?
No.
Okay, well, there's a pharmaceutical company
Who?
that I'm curious how it lands for you.
Okay.
Are you familiar with the
Abbott?
pharmaceutical company Abbott?
No.
Okay, well,
I think I
there's a
know who
pharmaceutical
Abbott is.
company. It's a giant pharmaceutical company. They're called Abbott Labs. They paid me over the last 5 years. I created content for them. Do you think that biases me as a physician to be a worse physician?
I would have to know more about
Possibly.
you and things that you said, things that you reported, things like
Well,
that to be able to
based
say
on
that.
the
I mean, at least you
conversation,
admitted that
or
they
is it
paid you.
reasonable
You
to
haven't
think that a
talked
bias
about Abbott.
Well, here's the reason why I bring it up because some people
Yeah.
bring this up as a way to sort of weaponize the fact that I'm taking money from big pharma.
I know exactly what you're talking about. Those are fucking straight crack.
And I think it's reasonable to bring it up whether or not it does bias me. I think I should evaluate that within myself. Here's what I took money from Abbott for: to create a multi-year long campaign to encourage blood donation.
Okay.
Abbott is one of the largest testers in the United States on donated blood. So they make money by checking donated blood to make sure it's free of diseases, because that's what we want, right? Like if you get into a car accident, you get a transfusion, you want disease-free blood. So I think it's a good thing that they do that. And they were facing a huge shortage, especially after the pandemic. So they hired me to try and figure out a way to encourage blood donation.
So your main argument would be that we should look into the actions that people are actually taking when they do take money from companies, whatever that be, and we want to see what people are doing with it.
Sure.
So should you say that that argument then applies to RFK's actions after winning lawsuits and getting paid from those?
Sorry, I didn't follow.
Okay, so then you criticize RFK from taking money, right? So I think that we should say here is, we need to apply that exact same logic to Kennedy, because you criticized him heavily for taking money in lawsuits in the case.
I didn't criticize him. I presented that because someone said earlier that if someone is biased by taking money from a pharmaceutical company, I said, how is he not biased if he's taking money from a lawsuit case?
So I think generally your overall argument is that
I think fair enough.
so often bias isn't necessarily a bad thing.
I think bias
You said Celsius. Oh yeah, yeah.
that is hidden is a bad thing.
Okay, how would you say that something is a hidden bias when you have situations like on a grand scale in the United States, and this is kind of my overall problem, right? Is that you're seeing.
Yeah, I be having issues with Bang and shit too. That's why I stick with Red Bull if I drink an energy drink. It's not too much caffeine. It's enough. It kind of wakes you up. You know, it's got the extra little vitamins or whatever they throw in there. You know, the B vitamins, and that's enough for me. I don't need too much. A lot of these other ones just be too much caffeine. I don't drink that much caffeine. I tend to drink tea, very low amounts of caffeine, balanced out with the theanine. So.
Seeing that this money is actually making a difference. It's not just somebody supporting a company or whoever's giving them money because they believe in what that company stands for, right? Because what we're seeing is if you give a doctor even a meal as small as $20, then they're actually going to be more likely to prescribe.
Celsius isn't bad. I've definitely had it before. It's not bad. I think like the zero sugar ones are cool. Like, I think are they all zero sugar?
Do you think I'm more biased because I took a lot of money from Abbott?
That's the thing. I don't know anything.
But you just said $20 will bias you. So I took way more than $20. I promise.
Wait, what?
Right?
$20 will bias
you. If you give a doctor even a meal as small as $20, then they're actually going to be more likely to prescribe.
So do you think I'm more biased because I took a lot of money from Abbott?
That's the thing. I don't know anything.
But you just said $20 will bias you.
Yeah, well, he didn't necessarily say $20. He said something as simple as a meal. But I mean, in general, he said he doesn't know you in particular, you know, whether you're, you know, uncompromising in your beliefs or whatnot. But like, he's being fair. Like, he could just say, yeah, nigga, you compromised. Like,
somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
I tell you straight up, like, yeah, you are likely compromised if you're fucking taking money from a company like that.
Somebody
Like,
gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
what incentive would you really have to let me know if they had some other shit going on? Of course, you're going to paint it in a good light like you just did. You're like, oh, well, they just needed more blood and I was helping them with that. It's like, you're not going to go out of your way to tell me negative things about the motherfuckers that offered you money because they might offer you more money later.
Somebody
like,
gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
So I took way more than $20, I promise you.
But are you actively writing prescriptions right now?
Of course, I'm a practicing physician. But do you know how many vaccines Abbott, for example, makes here?
No.
0.
I'll say
thank you for the kicks, Natty.
You got me there, but that's the thing. I just don't.
But it's
know.
not
Yeah,
about
you know,
it's about
you
the
know
fact
what's funny?
that, like,
I didn't have a ding in my ear when I got that. Like, I got like it was like a boom. Like, it's actually a very pleasant sound, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know how Hotep got his shit set up. I ain't get no ding, no annoying ding, and nothing like that.
my issue with bias is, to me, bias becomes an issue when it's hidden and there's a lack of transparency.
Okay.
And I fault the pharmaceutical company for playing these games.
Yeah, but like, how do we know if you're hiding bias? Like,
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
we don't really know if you're hiding bias. We might have to assume it. If there's a conflict of interest, then there's a likelihood of there being a bias. Not even there's a likelihood of there being bias. Kind of evidence that there is going to be bias, but maybe not necessarily, right? Or it might not be to that large of a degree, right? But it's there. Like, you're gonna have a bias for people that pay you for shit. Like, I'm not gonna lie. Like, if I have one motherfucker who I've made money with versus a motherfucker I haven't made money with, I'm gonna have a bias towards the motherfucker I made money with. Like,
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
of course.
With pharmacy benefit managers, they play these types of untransparent issues all the time, and I hate it. But when you have administrators within the MAHA leadership, Casey Means, Kaylee Means, these individuals can be taking money from companies, and no one is aware of who's taking the money. But when you look at the Sunshine Act, which requires pharmaceutical companies to tell the truth about doctors taking money, you know
So
the transparency is there.
when it comes
Don't you think
to-
there's less bias when there's transparency?
Yes, absolutely. That's one of the things that RFK.
Less bias when there's transparency? Not really. Don't. You might actually have more bias when you have transparency.
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
Because when you have full transparency, I mean, it's going to bias you to act a particular way. It's going to bias people to perceive you a particular way, especially if you're going out of your way to make it clear that you're aiming for transparency, right?
RFK and the MAHA movement represents.
So when he
transparency.
shuts down public opinion after
Like, that's half of the point. Literally, that's half of the point of transparency.
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
Is to look good. Nigga, you want them to be biased.
Somebody
Like,
gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
that's the point. You want bias. Like, when you go out of your way to be like, they're transparent, it's not just like, oh, well, you know, they always say like, oh, we want people to see the facts. We want you to have the information and be able to decide for yourself. It's like, no, nigga, you want us to like you. You want us to think that you are the most honest, right? Like,
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell
that's
it.
what you're doing. Yep. Looks like they just went live with Kemedicine. Let's finish up here. Let's see if we can
Well,
just.
It's specific. It's
It's only
specific
6 minutes
shareholders,
left.
and they want to know what they
Let's finish this up.
Stakeholders meaning that it's a policy that will impact someone's life. So imagine HHS was ruling on a policy for a condition that you had. They just cut HIV funding. I'm not saying you have HIV, but let's say someone has HIV. Well, let's take that back. Let's say someone has HIV and they just cut HIV funding. Before, HHS would have to have a time of public opinion to voice concerns about that. He removed it. Where is the radical transparency?
So here's the thing. The one thing you need to understand about the federal government is that it's intended to move slow, right? And the thing is that the Senate legislation, they are in charge of the purse of the United States of America, and right now we're in the government shutdown, right? And so in order to get a lot of funding for these things, it has to come from the legislation. And so until we can get spending, which I mean, Democrats wanted to increase our spending on Medicare and Medicaid by $1.5 trillion. So until we get this money, you can make cuts, but it's largely, it's very, very difficult for the federal government to then add things.
So Secretary Kennedy is part of an administration that controls the legislative branch, the
No, it does
executive
not.
branch.
There's a separation of powers. The executive branch does not
Well,
control
they have the
it.
majority in the legislative
I mean,
branch.
The majority is
yeah,
nothing.
no, they
Executive
don't.
branch.
And the judicial branch. Why is more not being done
I mean, he's talking about the Republican
to
Party.
rein in pharmaceutical companies? Why is more not being done about improving chronic health conditions with children instead of talking about Skittles and titanium dioxide?
Well, it's not that simple. You have some
What do you wait? What do you mean? Like, why is more not being done? We're only in the first year, nigga. Goddamn.
in our Senate called a filibuster. So even if Republicans have a majority,
So
we are
did
still
he
on a lockdown.
present something that someone filibustered against? You're talking about all
Well, we
these
just
kind
hit the
of-
I'm talking
second
about why
year.
they can't get money in the first place. It's because we're in a shutdown.
money for what?
The federal government
I mean,
gets
we've
money
been
from
in
the
a
legislation when
shutdown
they
for
pass a
a
bill.
month or so. What
That is
about
true.
the time that he was in office before that?
Well, the thing is the federal government, like I said, it moves very, very slow. So the very beginning of his administration was intended to, okay, look over those things, bring oversight, and then make these cuts. And now when it comes time to actually pass a spending bill, we're not able to do that because we're in a lockout and we can't even agree on things like this. Even when you have a majority, a filibuster is still very, very powerful, but I still don't think that it should be
So let me
abolished.
ask you this, because this is a good question for me to understand your position better. Secretary Kennedy's been in the office about a year. Is that fair to say? It's a little less than that, but let's say a year. So far, he's removed red dyes, which is, I think, is a good thing out of kids' foods. Some random other things about swapping oils for one another, which I don't think makes a big difference. Removing certain
So are you
chemicals.
upset with him by not doing
No.
enough?
I want to recap everything he's done, and then we can talk about it.
Okay.
So those are the big things he's done. He's also published the MAHA report, this landmark report that they celebrated that had false sources in it, inaccurate statistics. He did a press conference saying that he swore he'd find the cause of autism, where he said the cause and then 2 weeks later took it back. You feel like this
I mean, sure.
is a good first year for him?
Well, the thing is that science is a constant thing. Science is constant.
Well, how many things did he list though? Like a good first year? Like how many things is that in like 1 year?
And then we could talk about it.
Okay.
So those are the big things he's done. He's also published the MAHA report, this landmark report that they for one another, which I don't think I think is a good thing out of kids' foods. Is that fair to say? It's a little less than that, but let's say a year. Question for me to understand your position better. Secretary Kennedy's been in the office about a year. Is that fair to say?
Okay.
It's a little less than that, but let's say a year. So
Okay.
far, he's removed red dyes, which is, I think, is a good thing out of
Okay. Good thing. Removing red dye. Okay. Fact.
kids' foods. Some random other things about swapping oils for one another, which I don't think makes a big difference. Removing
So
certain
are you
chemicals.
upset with him by
All right. So that part is random. You don't even really understand it. You don't think it make a big difference, but you can't really say it's bad because you don't seem to understand it much. So.
not doing enough?
I want to recap everything he's done, and then we can talk about it.
Okay.
So those are the big things he's done. He's also published the MAHA report, this landmark report that they celebrated that had false sources in it, inaccurate
All right. So supposedly, but I mean, that doesn't mean that it wasn't correct.
statistics. He did a press conference saying that he swore he'd find the cause of autism, where he said the cause and then 2 weeks later took it back.
Okay. So that's maybe like one thing we can say for sure. And then like the Maha report thing, but then again, it doesn't mean it's incorrect. It just means that they had some issues with it, right?
You feel like this is a good first year for him?
Well, the thing is that science is a constant thing. Science
Doesn't sound like a bad first year. It just sounds like he tried to get a couple things done. You know, you win some, you lose some. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
is constantly developing. And so you can't necessarily hold him to something that he says, even when he retracts it. I would honestly say that itself is transparency.
So what happened in the 2 weeks from when he said Tylenol did cause autism to when it didn't? What new information came out that suddenly scientifically made him change his mind?
Enough scientific evidence to disprove.
You
what he
think
believes.
you think research was published in those 2 weeks?
Do I think the research? Well, not necessarily, but they could have in their systems looked at more research outside of that.
You don't think they should have
Yeah,
done that
research
before
had to
making
be
a press
published within
conference
those 2
to
weeks.
millions of
Well,
people
the
in
thing
United
is, what
States?
actually happened is he said that there could be a possible link. He didn't just say
Well, the
Tylenol causes
FDA
autism.
commissioner went on Fox News and said causes.
He straight up said
Straight
that it
up said
caused.
causes.
But then again, 2 weeks later, they went back and they said that that's not the case.
Yeah, but there was no new, like, I get, I'm trying to be fair. Let's say they said it causes it. And then in the middle of that, 2 weeks later, they publish a new article that disproves and they go, we learned, we need to take it back. I wouldn't judge them for that. But that didn't happen.
I mean,
man.
so often though, you do judge Kennedy for things that he doesn't necessarily believe anymore.
Like what?
Specifically, I was talking.
Did they not do that?
But then again, 2 weeks later, they went outside of that.
You don't think they should have done that before making a publish? New information came out that suddenly scientifically made him change his mind.
Enough scientific evidence to disprove.
You
what
think
he
you
believes.
think research was published in
Yeah,
those
it
2
might have
weeks?
been.
Do I think the research? Well, not necessarily, but they could have in their systems
Or maybe he just became aware of something, right?
looked at more research outside of that.
You don't think they should have done
Right.
that before making a press conference
How do you know they didn't?
to millions?
Doesn't mean they can't come, they can still come across new information like days later.
Well,
Like,
the thing is, what actually happened is he said that there could be a possible link. He didn't just say
yeah, he didn't just say that was the thing, to be fair.
Well, the
Tylenol causes
FDA
autism.
commissioner went on Fox News and said causes.
He straight up said that
Straight
it
up said
caused.
causes.
But then again, 2 weeks later, they went back
Okay, but that's not him.
and they said that that's not the case.
Yeah, but there was no new, like, I get, I'm trying to be fair. Let's say they said it causes it. And then in the middle of that, 2 weeks later, they
Maybe there was an issue in communication between it. Like,
publish a new article that disproves and they go, we learned, we need to take it back. I wouldn't judge them for that. But that didn't happen.
I mean,
man.
so often though, you do judge Kennedy for things that he doesn't necessarily believe in.
I mean, you just said they took it back. So, I mean, like, they don't have to give you all the details on why they took it back. Nigga, they took it back.
Somebody's gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
Nitpicking now.
Anymore.
Like what?
And specifically, I was talking about that Kennedy, well, he said that half of China has diabetes, right?
Sure.
And so the actual percentage was 13% had diabetes, and then the remainder making up that half is actually has pre-diabetes. And so I don't think you should necessarily hold things like that against him. Because
You don't think I should hold the Secretary of Health and Human Services from getting statistics wrong over and over again?
Well, no, it's not. It's like if he has...
That's the most important thing for him.
Yeah, over and over again. Again, like, how many times is that? He's only named like a couple times.
He's in charge. He's the one making decisions.
The thing is, if he's conflicted by something,
And then, like, he just, one of the times it's just like really just more mix up than anything.
and there's something that says something, I think it's honest if he would present that in front of the American people.
Right, but it didn't take me a lot of work to find out what the number was. Like, if I can find it out as a YouTuber, why can't the Secretary of Health and Human Services get the numbers right before making up? It's not like someone asked him off the cuff, what's the percentage? And they gotcha, you got it wrong. He presented it at a conference.
So simply for him
It's not like people can't misspeak or get something mixed up. Like, come on, like, Jesus Christ, bro.
presenting a study that contains
Can't even
nuance
be human anymore.
It's not he's presenting nuance. He's presenting inaccurate information that is very simple to fact check.
Yeah, very simple to fact check. Like all the fact checking we did here, you know what I'm saying? Interesting back and forth. Interesting back and forth. I would say that the other guy, he defended his claim properly. Shout out to him. Shout out to Jack. Not that big a fan of Dr. Mike, but you know, he did a good job. You know, hats off to Dr. Mike. All right.
Between folks who very much disagree with me, and I'm hoping today was an opportunity for them to see that doctors are interested in helping them, that the healthcare system could be revived, and there's absolutely opportunities for us to see eye to eye.
When there's rebellion, an empire
like this
is
Brian
always going
guy.
to call it misinformation,
I wish he had brought him up.
dishonesty, et cetera, all these things. So if you are going to attempt to try to convince these people that you really have the truth, you can't frame things in a dishonest way like he did today.
Somehow the information has been weaponized.
True.
And
Yeah.
we're fighting. And that needs to end. And someone
Shout out to Brian, man.
needs to be big enough to bridge that gap.
Instead of focusing on better transparency, more scientific rigor, we instead have an individual who doesn't quite understand science, someone who takes anecdote over hard data. And ultimately, that's going to make worse outcomes for all of us.
I disagree with Dr. Mike, but he did a good job. Shout out to everybody on that episode. Finally finished it. Dr. Mike versus 20 RFK supporters. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope I did it justice with our logical analysis. Thank you for joining me. Now, if you would please, on over to the Kemedicine channel on Hotep Jesus Live, or on over to Hotep Jesus Live for the Kemedicine episode for tonight. I'll catch y'all later. Thank you, beautiful people, for joining me. Matane.